becomes available.
What did you see out of Trey McKinney tonight?
I saw a guy, really is coming into his own at the point of attack. We ran the football tonight. That was a big part of our game plan. We felt like we could do it. And he's a big reason why you got to have tight ends at the point of attack. That's why we drafted him. And he's got a pro body. This guy is physical at the point of attack. He's got good feet. He's got a good head on his shoulders. And he's really coming alive for us. And he was a real bright spot for us tonight.
All right, there's Brandon Staley. He gave us a bit of an update on Donald Parham. He was the player who was injured, was carted off the field. He is currently at UCLA Harbor Medical Center undergoing neurological tests. And obviously that'll go through the night, and we'll give you a better update tomorrow. But let's get back to the game. And one of the things that Brandon Staley did there is he doubled down on his decisions to go for it on fourth down. He says, that's the way we're going to play football. And the assumption is that the Kansas City Chiefs are going to score an awful lot of points and they're going to win the game unless you go for it regularly, go for the touchdown instead of the 3 points. But literally taking 12 points off the board seems like it was what did the Chargers in tonight.
Those were the deciding plays, I think, Kyle, because when you listen to Brandon Staley, he's confident. He really has assured himself that, hey, I'm gutsy. I'm going to go for this thing. Yeah. But when you go into a game and you have a fourth down, you come into the game with maybe one or two options. You have a trick play, something up your sleeve that you're going to use. But I didn't see anything. I didn't see any diverse kind of plays. The Chiefs will have a shovel pass, something to change up, something to throw the defense off. But again, some of the plays were delivered. They just weren't executed perfectly. I had a little question with some of the play calling that Joe was using down there, but here again, you see Sorensen come up with the block. I mean, plays like that, they look normal. They look just average plays. There's nothing really special there to come up with to try to confuse the defense.
Well, let's not lose sight of the fact, Vince, that this is a football team with a new head coach, a young head coach that hadn't had a lot of reasons to be all that so confident of late. We saw him a year ago lose every one-score ball game they were in just about, and they needed a shot in the arm, and I think Brandon has come and given them that because he said that I believe in this roster, this offensive roster so much that I'm not going to let fourth down stand in my way. We're going to go for it. And we saw him take a lot of risks early on, Kyle. We saw him take a lot of risks, and it paid off, and they ended up winning ball games. You and I have sit and talked about it. And this particular game, I'm wondering, well, do we really want to go for it right here? He did it. He has the confidence of his team, and he came up short. I still think he has the confidence of his team, even though none of us would have made those decisions at that time.
No, and I wonder, what does that, Ron, what does that say about your defense? What are you telling your defense when you're saying we have to go for it on fourth down because 3 points just isn't enough?
Well, the first thing that surprised me from Kansas City's end is if you look at the Charger defense against the rush, they're 31st in the NFL. The Chargers really, or the Chiefs really didn't try to run the football, so that surprised me from the start. I thought they would attack them there. And Brandon Staley said two things that we're telling there in the press conference. One, the last drive on defense, he felt we left some plays on the field. We didn't attack in some situations. Our rush wasn't there. And I think it was that old Michael Jordan syndrome where they actually started to watch Patrick Mahomes go down the field instead of say, hey, wait a minute now, if they score, we're going home. That's number one. And he also said Kansas City is tough to finish off, and that's what he was talking about. That's where you have to step up. You've played hard all game long. Sure, some things didn't go your way. Yeah, maybe some calls were questionable here and there, but you got to be at your best when your best is required. It was their best to be required right then and there. And the Chargers defense didn't do it. They didn't step up. And kudos to the best, the stars, right? Kelsey and Tyreek Hill. The stars showed up when you need your stars.
They really showed up.
No doubt. All right, let's get another opinion on this right now. Joining us is Chris Myers from Fox Sports. He'll be calling the Rams-Seahawks game on Sunday at SoFi Stadium. Chris, thanks so much for joining us. It's great to see you. And we've got to get your opinion on this. All of the fourth downs, all of the missed opportunities with potential field goals. How did you see it?
Well, it's good to be on with you, Kyle, and it was a highly entertaining game. You guys covered it pretty much, and I thought Brandon Staley, stuck to his theory. Two things stood out. The Chargers on this national platform, they have a Super Bowl quarterback. They don't have a Super Bowl team, especially on defense. And in fairness, some of the injuries they had in the secondary, I wondered why they were blitzing and why they let down defensively. And you just can't leave Travis Kelce alone. I know there's a lot of weapons on that team, but when they needed it most, that's where Mahomes went, and the Chargers could have been a little more prepared for that. I just think that the gambling, and there's a risk reward, and for an inexperienced head coach, Brandon Staley, I just think he got a little bit carried away. I know that's a trend in the NFL. I think Vince pointed out you have to have certain plays to do that. You talk to a Sean Payton or Sean McVay when they're going, and they don't have that many, by the way, fourth down guaranteed plays that you're going to go for in a game. I mean, he was gambling as if this was for the division. I don't think I'd want to see Staley in a casino with his last paycheck. I'd worry about him. What he's going to do here. But I think we saw two postseason teams. Obviously, one's going to win the division. That's kind of gone by the wayside for the Chargers. But they are as long as they have a quarterback like Herbert, they're in it. And I know Staley was talking about that. We're going to play this way because of the quarterback we have. And that's great. But you have to have a defense that can measure up. And whether it's health or whatever, they don't have that defense right now.
Now, it's funny you made that analogy because we made the exact same one earlier in our sports department saying, could you imagine sitting at the blackjack table and you lose a hand and you lose a hand and you lose a hand and now you're just trying to get all the money back that you already lost and maybe at some point you got to walk away from the table. But let's switch gears a little bit. Coming up Sunday on Fox, fresh off their big win over Arizona on Monday Night Football, the Rams will be hosting the Seahawks, but are currently battling a COVID outbreak. 25 players currently on the COVID-19 reserve list, including Von Miller. It caused practice to be shut down. The whole facility has been down since Tuesday. Now, we can take a few of the takeaways here from the new COVID-19 protocols that just came out a few hours ago. No gatherings now in groups of 4 or more people. No public appearances allowed. You can test out sooner if asymptomatic. All players and staff must wear masks indoors, and in-person meetings are prohibited unless outdoors are in a practice bubble. So, Chris, got to ask you this. With everything going on in the NFL right now, it's not just the Rams. There are many, many teams affected by this. The Washington football team, the Cleveland Browns. Where do you see this going, and do you see it affecting games this weekend?
Yeah, well, and the Browns are down. I mean, their head coach is out at the moment. They're down to their third-string quarterback, and they're a team battling for the playoffs, and they play on Saturday. Where it's going, look, the NFL, we give them credit from the start for pushing forward, staying within safety guidelines, and trying to make things happen. Made it through last year for the most part. They had to play games on Tuesday, Wednesday. They postponed games. They didn't want to do that this year when we thought we were through the worst of this. Obviously, things change, and I think they've made these recent adjustments to try. Most of these players, by the way, the league is 95, 97% in terms of players. They've been vaccinated. So the problem is there's some false positives in here. So they've kind of, I guess, adjusted things to give players a chance if they don't have symptoms. And there is a test that they can take back-to-back tests now within 24 hours as opposed to 48 to try and get guys back into the game. I was talking to Russell Wilson today. They play the Seahawks. He's like, well, we may be down some guys too, but I'm wondering who they're going to be down on defense in the secondary. That matters how we prepare. And for the Rams, that big win, it was an amazing effort on Monday night to beat the Cardinals. They're already on a short week. And yeah, they're familiar with Seattle in their division. They beat them earlier in the year, but they still need that practice time, especially with limited players who maybe they didn't think were going to have to play and now will. So I would say the games are on. I don't think you're going to get canceled. You might get a postponement depending. You have to have enough players to field the team. The league initially said if you were at fault or your team was for these issues, we would